Let's jump right in. Imagine grabbing your morning coffee, flipping open the paper, and boom, right there on the front page is a letter from a serial killer. And he's not just confessing, he is literally daring the police to catch him. In this explainer, we're digging into one of the most terrifying figures in criminal history, a guy who held the entire public hostage, not just with a weapon, but with mind-bending coded puzzles. He buried his secrets inside complex ciphers, bragged about a massive body count, and played the game entirely by his own twisted rules. Today, we're going to unpack the facts, break down his exact cipher methods, and explore the lingering theories behind the Zodiac. To really grasp how shocking this was, you have to put yourself in that era. We're talking late 1960s, Northern California, the epicenter of peace, music, and the whole counterculture movement. But right beneath that peaceful surface, an absolute nightmare was brewing. A mysterious killer started hunting young couples in secluded Lover's Lane type areas. The attacks were sudden, incredibly brutal, and seemingly completely random. It was a massive, terrifying shock to the system for a culture built on peace and love. So what was driving him? That's the million-dollar question. Unlike most serial killers who just want to stay in the shadows, this guy desperately craved the spotlight. He wanted fame, and he wanted to inflict mass panic. And to make sure nobody forgot him, he branded himself. He created that infamous signature, just a simple circle crossed by 4 lines. By stamping this chilling symbol on everything, he made absolutely sure the whole world would know his name. Let's walk through the initial timeline real quick to ground this in reality before he morphed into this bizarre puzzle master. It all kicked off on December 20th, 1968. Teenagers David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen were parked on a quiet, gravel pull-off near Vallejo, California. Out of nowhere, gunshots. Both were tragically killed. Initially, the cops thought, okay, it's a horrific but isolated double homicide. But then, just over 6 months later, on July 4th, 1969, another couple was attacked in an eerily similar way, and then again in September at Lake Berryessa. Now, that July 4th attack is a crucial turning point because one of the victims actually survived. Before the other victim tragically passed away, they managed to give investigators their very first real clue. They described the attacker as a heavy-set white man. Keep that detail in the back of your mind as we go through this, because while it was a massive breakthrough at the time, it ultimately just wasn't enough to track him down. So here is where he completely weaponizes the media. A few weeks after that second attack, he flips the script from just murder to all-out psychological warfare. His method was so coldly calculated. Step 1, commit the crime. Step 2, mail practically identical letters to 3 major newspapers taking credit for it. Step 3, include these incredibly complex encrypted messages. And Step 4, the ultimate extortion. Publish my codes on the front page or I'll go on a killing spree. And just to prove he was the real deal, he'd casually drop in grisly details from the crime scenes that only the killer could possibly know. The crazy thing is, the Zodiac wasn't just haunting the police, he was challenging literally everyone. Once those newspapers printed his letters, it was like a switch flipped. His bizarre mashup of Greek letters, Morse code, and weather symbols turned the entire public into amateur sleuths. You had high school teachers, college students, professional mathematicians, and just everyday people sitting at their kitchen tables furiously trying to crack his codes. He basically transformed his horrific crimes into this twisted, interactive public spectacle. And eventually, somebody did crack one of those ciphers. A high school teacher and his wife, actually. But the translation, it is just bone-chilling. The message literally started with, "I like killing people because it is so much fun." In that very same decoded message, he goes off on this bizarre, horrifying tangent, claiming that his victims were going to become his slaves in the afterlife. It really gave everyone a look into the mind of someone totally unmoored from reality, treating human lives like pieces on a game board. But honestly, that first cracked code perfectly illustrates why we are still obsessed with this mystery over 50 years later. Because while they got that first one, several of his other ciphers remain a total mystery to this day. And when we look at his methods, they were actually highly sophisticated. He used a technique called homophonic substitution. That basically means he assigned multiple different symbols to common letters just to totally wreck basic code-breaking strategies. It required serious cryptographic chops, which fuels so many lingering theories like, who was this guy? Was he military intelligence? A math professor? Those remaining codes are like a locked puzzle box we're still trying to pry open. And right when the public is reeling from the ciphers, the physical attacks escalate in a deeply terrifying way. September 27, 1969, Lake Berryessa. Up until now, he'd been a guy with a gun in the dark. But this time, he approaches a young couple in broad daylight wearing a literal costume. A black executioner's hood draped over his chest, featuring his crosshair symbol. He forces them to tie each other up and then uses a knife for a horrific, prolonged attack. It's a complete, terrifying shift in his whole MO. And what he did immediately after that is just staggering. He casually walks away from the victims, goes straight to their car, and pulls out a marker. Right there on the car door, he physically writes out the dates of his previous attacks, along with the date and time of what he just did. It was so incredibly brazen. It's like he was creating a terrifying portfolio of his work and wanted the cops to stand there and admire it. If you thought that was bold, the brazenness just keeps escalating. Barely 2 weeks later, the Zodiac murders a taxi driver, and he does it right in the middle of a residential neighborhood in San Francisco. He simply walks away into the night, finds a payphone, and calls the police department himself. He reports his own murder, calm as can be, and just hangs up the phone. He was literally taunting them in real time. Naturally, at this point, the entire Bay Area is gripped by absolute panic. Nobody has a clue where or when he's going to strike next, and he's dodging the police at every single turn. To keep everyone terrified, he keeps mailing dozens of letters over the next few years. And just to squash any rumors that it might be a copycat writing in, he starts including physical proof. In one letter, he actually mailed a bloody piece of that taxi driver's shirt. He was forcing the entire city to acknowledge that he was still out there and he was still in control. But we've got to separate the mythology from the hard facts here. The Zodiac built up this terrifying, almost superhuman aura around himself, eventually claiming he had killed 37 people. That's a massive number. But when you look at the official verified police evidence, they could only definitively tie him to 5 deaths and 2 survivors. So there's this huge gap between his grandiose claims and the verifiable reality. It really points to a guy desperate to inflate his own ego and legacy. So, the obvious question, why didn't they catch him? Well, it wasn't for a lack of trying, I can tell you that. This was a massive, sprawling investigation. They scrutinized literally thousands of suspects. But all the traditional investigative methods just kept hitting a brick wall. They had partial fingerprints. They had mountains of handwriting samples from all his letters. Years later, they even ran DNA analysis. But nothing. Every single promising lead just fizzled out into another dead end. Now, out of those thousands of people they looked at, one name definitely gets the most attention: Arthur Lee Allen. If you dive into Zodiac theories, you are going to hear his name a lot. He is easily the most famous suspect. But, keeping things strictly factual here, despite intense, years-long scrutiny, investigators simply never found enough hard evidence to actually charge the man. So to this day, officially, neither Arthur Lee Allen nor anyone else has ever been definitively named as the Zodiac Killer. Which brings us right into the lingering theories that people still argue about today. We're basically looking at 2 very different, very chilling possibilities. The first theory, was the Zodiac an actual criminal genius? I mean, looking at his complex homophonic substitution ciphers and his ability to vanish into thin air, was he a mastermind playing a highly intellectual game with the cops? Or, theory 2, was he just a fairly average, deeply disturbed guy who managed to get incredibly, phenomenally lucky time and time again? And then, of course, you have the ultimate mystery, his disappearance. After completely terrorizing California, sending the media into a frenzy, and keeping the cops running in circles, he just stops. The letters fade out, the killings end, and he vanishes. So what happened? Did he just age out of it, or perhaps pass away? Or did he pack up, change his identity, and completely blend back into everyday society, living out his days totally unnoticed? Here we are, more than half a century later, and those mocking letters and unsolved ciphers still completely captivate investigators and true crime communities everywhere. It really is one of the most baffling unsolved mysteries in all of criminal history. Some of those codes are still out there right now, waiting for someone to crack them. And somewhere, hidden in a dusty file or locked in those ciphers, the truth might still be waiting. So, leaving you with a thought to chew on today. When you tally up all the clues, the complex cipher methods, and the history, who do you really think was behind